Spring is only a few days away, but here in Seattle, the housing market actually starts early, so it's already been heating up. Yes, our spring market actually starts earlier and ends earlier than many other markets. So what better time for a market update? I'm going to talk about King County. I'm going to talk about a couple of neighborhoods in between, but ultimately what's going to happen and what are we going to see happen down in the future. So let's start with King County. Now, we ended up seeing some interesting numbers. We do have to remember that these numbers are taken from technically like the January sales, and we had a pretty slow come off of the holiday season. So when we're looking at King County, the average sales price was about $1.183 million for just a single family home in the county. Now that was up about just 0.5% from the month before in January, but we were actually down still about 1% or so from February of 2024. Now the days on market has been sitting, it was actually at 30 for single family homes, and that almost dropped by half from the month before. So you kind of see the trend here. Now what's really interesting in the stat I am looking at is that the average percent of list price received was 102.3%. We have not seen a number above 102 since last June of 2024. So what's that mean? That means that the average home is going above list price. Now, 2% doesn't sound like much. This is all in King County. So you take, more desirable areas and that number is only going to go up. So I really do see that the next month, especially taking now that we're going to have March pendings and the next month's market update for these stats are going to come out, and it's going to definitely reflect that. I'm going to see a huge jump. Now, condos are still lagging a little bit, but not too bad. The sales have increased, actually 29.7% from last February. I feel like 2024 was not the year for condos at all. So this year, maybe we're starting to see a little bit of a rebound, but the average sales price, median sales price, that all went up from last year, which is great. Now, the amount of one's inventory of condos for sale, this is a crazy number. In King County, inventory of condos for sale went up 70% since February of last year. So if you're just comparing the February markets, that's the change. So will we see some opportunity for some great prices in the condo market considering the inventory is so much more? Well, supply and demand, I would say, tells us yes. So that's going to be for King County. I'm going to dive into a couple of quick neighborhoods just to kind of give some insight. If you have a specific zip code or a specific data that you really want to dive into, let me know. I can get that information for you. So I'm going to go first with Kirkland with the 98033 zip code. We actually saw quite a decrease in February of 2025 to February 2024. So about a 16% decrease in average sales price, about 2.217. We're still at the 2 million mark. So yes, that is the average price for a single family home in Kirkland. But again, condos, we were seeing a decrease in the sales price and the average sales or median sales price, a huge uptick in condos for Kirkland. We saw 151% increase of inventory of condos for sale. So again, there could be some great opportunity there. And it's always good to compare those notes. If we go over to Bellevue, if we're looking at popular zip code 98004, kind of similar numbers. Bellevue's going to have the higher average price points. We're at about 2.8 million for both median and average, which you don't see them the same very often. And that was also a decrease from the February of last year. So if we look at condos, there's not a ton of data to compare it, but didn't see a huge amount of inventory for that. And then even the average sales price for condos are 1.4, up 4%, but in that particular zip code, there are a lot of condos, so it's much more data than other areas. Now, if I go and look into the Seattle area, there are many, many different zip codes. So it's hard to analyze, okay, what's going to give you the best type of report. So what I did is, I looked at, okay, for everything that sold in February of residential single family homes for now, from essentially, I-90 up to about Northgate, it's a lot of data. A lot of homes sell during that. But what's interesting for February is that, I looked at about half of the data. There's, 300 homes or so that sold in that month, single family home only. But within that data, half of those homes were on the market, more than half of them were on the market for about 6 days or less. And that means that most of them had an offer review date. And when we have an offer review date, and if they were, on the market for that amount of time, we can assume that those all went over list price, and they did. So we're seeing that come back. The spring market has heated up. I think buyers just, again, getting a reality of, hey, these are what interest rates are. We saw a quick decrease in rates last week, and then they kind of jumped back up again. But I anticipate this still being a very robust spring market, and I think it's still important for buyers and sellers to know how to navigate that. Just because it's busy does not mean that a seller can just throw their house up on, put a sign in the yard and call it good. Buyers are still looking for quality, clean, well-maintained homes. And buyers, if you just go out there with blinders on, you're not going to know how to navigate the complexities of offer reviews and multiple offers, and what's going to really make your offer stand out, and how to make sure that the seller is going to choose you when maybe price isn't always the most important option to them. So if you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, or maybe just stay in a home, because that's maybe what the best option is for you, let's talk about it and see what works best for you. Have a great day, and I look forward to helping you in 2025.